I never thought I'd be in this situation, but here I am. I'm Lily, 28F, and I've always been the responsible one in my family. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, I was the kid who always did her homework, got straight A's, and never caused any trouble. My younger sister Megan, 24F, on the other hand, has always been the wild child, constantly getting into scrapes and relying on others to bail her out. Our childhood was a study in contrasts. While I was busy joining academic clubs and volunteering at the local animal shelter, Megan was sneaking out to parties and dating boys our parents disapproved of. I remember countless nights staying up late, worrying about where she was and if she was safe. More often than not, I'd end up covering for her, lying to our parents about her whereabouts to keep her out of trouble. Our parents, Dad, 58M, and Mom, 55F, have always favored Megan. They've consistently made excuses for her behavior, chalking it up to her being free-spirited or artistic. When she got caught shoplifting at 16, they grounded her for a week and then bought her a new phone to cheer her up. When she failed 3 classes in her senior year and almost didn't graduate, they hired expensive tutors and convinced the school to let her make up the credits over the summer. Meanwhile, I was left to fend for myself. Don't get me wrong, our parents loved me, but they always assumed I would be fine on my own. When I needed money for a school trip in high school, I had to babysit for months to save up. When I got into my dream college but couldn't afford the tuition, I had to take out loans and work part-time jobs to make ends meet. Despite the challenges, I've worked hard to build a successful career in marketing. It hasn't been easy. I've spent countless nights working late, sacrificing my personal life in the process. I can't count the number of dates I've had to cancel or the friends I've lost touch with because of my dedication to my career. But I've always believed it would be worth it in the end. A few months ago, all that hard work finally paid off. I landed my dream job at a prestigious marketing firm in New York City. It's been my goal for years, ever since I interned at a small agency in Columbus during college and fell in love with the fast-paced, creative world of marketing. When I got the offer, I was over the moon. I remember jumping up and down in my tiny apartment, screaming with joy. The catch? I'd have to relocate from our hometown in Ohio to New York. It was a big move, but I was ready for it. I'd always felt a bit stifled in our small town, and the thought of living in the Big Apple was exhilarating. My family wasn't thrilled about it, but they seemed to understand how important this opportunity was for me. At least, that's what I thought at the time. Fast forward to last week. Megan announced that she's engaged to her boyfriend of 6 months, Tom, 26M. I was happy for her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Tom has always seemed a bit shady to me. He's charming, sure, but there's something about him that doesn't sit right. He's always talking about get-rich-quick schemes and has a new business venture every other month. But I've kept my opinions to myself to avoid causing drama. Yesterday, Megan called me with what she called exciting news. She told me she's planning a destination wedding in the Bahamas for next month. I was shocked at how quickly she was moving, but I figured it was just Megan being her impulsive self. It wouldn't be the first time she's made a rash decision. I remember when she decided to drop out of community college after 1 semester to become a yoga instructor, only to give that up 3 months later when she realized how much work it would be. Then came the bombshell. Megan asked me to be her maid of honor, which I was touched by. But then she dropped the real reason for her call. She wants me to quit my job in New York and move back home to help her plan the wedding full-time. I was stunned. I tried to explain that I couldn't just quit my dream job that I'd worked so hard for, especially for a wedding that was happening in just a month. But Megan wouldn't hear it. She accused me of being selfish and not caring about her happiness. She brought up all the times I'd helped her in the past, like when I let her crash on my couch for 3 months when she broke up with her last boyfriend and couldn't afford her own place. She said she thought I'd always be there for her, and now, when she needed me most, I was abandoning her. What's worse is that when I called our parents for support, they sided with Megan. They told me that family should come first, and that I was being selfish for prioritizing my career over my sister's special day. Mom even had the audacity to say, "Lily, you've always been so career-focused. Don't you think it's time you started thinking about settling down and having a family of your own? You're not getting any younger, you know." I'm at a loss. I love my sister, but I can't fathom giving up everything I've worked for just to plan a rushed wedding. Am I being selfish? Should I sacrifice my career for my sister's happiness? I feel like I'm going crazy here. To make matters worse, Megan has started a smear campaign against me on social media, painting me as the heartless sister who cares more about her job than family. She's posted old photos of us together, captioning them with things like, "Remember when my sister used to care about me?" and "Guess blood isn't thicker than water after all." Some of our extended family members and mutual friends have started reaching out to me, telling me I should reconsider my decision. I'm standing firm in my decision not to quit my job, but the guilt and pressure are starting to get to me. I've always been the peacekeeper in the family, the one who smooths things over when Megan causes drama. This conflict is tearing me apart. I don't want to ruin my relationship with my sister, but I also can't throw away my career. I'm considering not attending the wedding at all, given the circumstances. but I know that would only make things worse. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I don't know what to do. The whole situation is bringing up a lot of old resentments and hurts. I can't help but think about all the times I've had to put my own needs aside for Megan. Like when I had to miss my high school best friend's wedding because Megan had gotten into a fender bender and needed me to drive her around for a month. Or when I had to use most of my savings to bail Megan out when she racked up a huge credit card debt trying to start her own fashion line. I love my sister, but I'm starting to realize that maybe our relationship isn't as healthy as I've always tried to convince myself it is. And my parents' reaction is making me question a lot about my childhood and their treatment of us. Has anyone else been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? Am I really being selfish, or is my family being unreasonable? Any advice would be greatly appreciated because I'm at my wit's end here. Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and things have only gotten more complicated. I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments and advice. It really helped me gain some perspective on the situation and gave me the courage to stand my ground. After much consideration, I decided not to quit my job. I spent a sleepless night weighing all my options, thinking about everything I'd be giving up if I left New York. I thought about the tiny studio apartment I'd just started to make feel like home, with its view of the city skyline that still takes my breath away every morning. I thought about my new colleagues who've been so welcoming and supportive. I even thought about the little coffee shop down the street where I've started to become a regular, the barista already knowing my order when I walk in. I called Megan the next day to explain my decision calmly and rationally. I offered to help with the wedding planning as much as I could remotely, and even suggested taking a week off work to fly home and help with last-minute preparations. I thought it was a reasonable compromise. To say the call didn't go well would be an understatement. Megan exploded, calling me every name in the book and accusing me of ruining her special day. She brought up every perceived slight from our childhood, from the time I accidentally broke her favorite doll when we were kids to the time I forgot to call her on her 21st birthday because I was swamped with finals in college. It was like she had been keeping a tally of every mistake I'd ever made, just waiting for the right moment to throw them all in my face. Then she dropped another bombshell. She's pregnant. Apparently, this is the real reason for the rushed wedding, but she didn't want anyone to know yet. She said she and Tom had only found out a couple of weeks ago, and they wanted to get married before she started showing. I was shocked, but it didn't change my decision. If anything, it made me more concerned about the whole situation. A rushed wedding is one thing, but a rushed marriage due to an unplanned pregnancy? That's a recipe for disaster. I couldn't help but think about our cousin Rachel, who had gotten married at 19 when she got pregnant. The marriage had lasted all of 2 years before ending in a messy divorce, leaving Rachel a single mom struggling to make ends meet. When I expressed my concerns, Megan hung up on me. An hour later, I got a call from our mom. She laid into me about abandoning my sister in her time of need and how I was tearing the family apart. When I tried to explain my side, she accused me of being jealous of Megan's happiness. "You've always been jealous of your sister," she said, her words cutting deep. "Just because you can't find a man doesn't mean you should ruin Megan's chance at happiness." I was stunned into silence. Is that really what my mother thought of me? That I was some bitter, jealous spinster? I ended the call as quickly as I could, fighting back tears. The next day, I received an email from Megan. It was an invoice for her wedding expenses totaling over $20,000. The list included everything from a designer wedding dress to a 5-tier cake to first-class plane tickets for her and Tom. She said that since I wasn't willing to help with the planning, the least I could do was foot the bill for her dream wedding. I was floored. Not only was I not quitting my job, but now I was expected to bankroll this entire affair? It was clear that my family's entitlement knew no bounds. I thought back to my own college graduation, where I had to settle for a small dinner with my parents because they said they couldn't afford anything more extravagant. Meanwhile, they had thrown Megan a lavish party when she finally finished her GED last year. I replied to the email, firmly stating that I would not be paying for her wedding. I reiterated my offer to help remotely and take time off for the week of the wedding, but made it clear that this was the extent of my involvement. I also suggested that if money was tight, maybe they should consider scaling back the wedding plans. After all, wasn't the important thing that they were getting married, not how fancy the celebration was? The fallout has been intense. My phone has been blowing up with messages from family members, each one more guilt-trippy than the last. My aunt even suggested I take out a loan to pay for the wedding if I cared about family at all. It's like they all live in some alternate reality where it's completely normal to demand someone empty their bank account for a wedding. I'm starting to question whether I even want to attend this wedding. The thought of watching my sister rush into marriage with a man she barely knows, all while my family glares daggers at me, makes me sick to my stomach. I keep imagining the ceremony, Megan walking down the aisle in an overpriced dress that I supposedly should have paid for, my parents beaming with pride while shooting disappointed looks my way. The whole situation has made me start reevaluating a lot of things in my life. I've always prided myself on being there for my family, on being the responsible one. But now I'm wondering if all I've done is enable their bad behavior. Have I been a pushover all this time? letting them take advantage of me again and again? I'm considering going no contact with my family for a while, at least until after the wedding. I love them, but their behavior is toxic and it's affecting my mental health and my work performance. I've started having trouble sleeping, my mind racing with all the hurtful things they've said. I've caught myself zoning out during important meetings at work, my thoughts drifting back to this mess with my family. Part of me feels guilty for even considering cutting them off. They're my family after all. We've been through so much together. I remember how supportive they were when I was struggling with depression in college, how mom would call me every day just to check in. But then I remind myself of all the times they've dismissed my feelings, all the times they've put Megan's wants above my needs. Am I overreacting? Should I just give in to keep the peace? Or should I stand my ground and potentially risk my relationship with my entire family? I feel like I'm losing my mind here. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and the situation has taken several unexpected turns. I want to thank everyone again for their support and advice. It's been a lifeline during this chaotic time. After my last update, I decided to take some time to focus on myself and my new job. I muted my family's numbers and social media accounts, needing a break from the constant barrage of guilt and accusations. It was hard at first. I'd find myself habitually checking my phone for messages, feeling a mix of relief and guilt when there were none. But gradually, I started to feel the weight lifting off my shoulders. I threw myself into my work, staying late at the office and volunteering for extra projects. My boss noticed my dedication and even hinted at a potential promotion down the line. However, 3 days ago, I received a frantic call from my mom. Initially, I was hesitant to answer, but something told me I should. It turns out, Megan had disappeared. She left a note saying she couldn't go. Through with the wedding and needed time to think. She wasn't answering her phone and no one knew where she was. Despite everything that had happened, I was worried sick. Megan might be irresponsible and selfish at times, but she's still my little sister. I remembered all the times she'd gone missing as a teenager, how sick with worry I'd be until she finally came home. This felt just like those times, only 100 times worse. I immediately took time off work and flew back home to help search for her. When I arrived, I found my parents in a state of panic. The house was a mess, with half-packed boxes of wedding decorations strewn about. Mom looked like she hadn't slept in days, and Dad was stress-eating, something I hadn't seen him do since his mother passed away years ago. Tom, Megan's fiancé, was there too, but he seemed more annoyed than concerned. He kept checking his watch and sighing heavily, as if he had better places to be than searching for his missing fiancé. It made me dislike him even more than I already did. We spent 2 days searching, calling hospitals, and filing a missing persons report. I drove around town, checking all of Megan's old hangouts. The park where she used to go to clear her head after fights with our parents. The diner where she worked as a waitress for all of 2 weeks before quitting because the uniform was unflattering. The old abandoned factory on the edge of town where she and her high school friends used to sneak off to drink cheap beer. Just as we were about to lose hope, we received a call from Megan. She was safe but didn't want to disclose her location. She asked to speak to me alone. I was surprised she wanted to talk to me, given how things had been left between us. But I was just relieved to hear her voice. During our conversation, Megan broke down. She confessed that she wasn't really pregnant. She had lied about it to pressure Tom into marriage because she thought he was about to break up with her. She also admitted that she had maxed out several credit cards planning this elaborate wedding, hoping that Tom's wealthy family would help pay for it. As she spoke, I could hear the fear and desperation in her voice. It reminded me of when we were kids, and she'd come to me in tears after getting in trouble, begging me to help her fix things. Only this time, the stakes were so much higher. I was shocked but relieved that she was safe. I told her about how worried we all were and urged her to come home so we could sort everything out. She agreed, but asked me to pick her up alone. She was afraid of facing our parents and Tom. When I arrived at the motel where she was staying, I found her in tears. The room was a mess, with empty takeout containers and crumpled tissues everywhere. Megan looked smaller somehow, her usual confidence completely gone. On the drive home, she opened up about how she felt overshadowed by my success and how she thought marrying Tom would finally give her something to be proud of. She apologized for her behavior and for trying to sabotage my career. As we drove, I couldn't help but think about all the times we'd been in this car together. Road trips to the beach, late-night ice cream runs, me teaching her to drive on empty back roads. It felt like a lifetime ago. We arrived home to a mix of relief and anger from our parents. Tom had already left, leaving a note saying he was done with the crazy family drama. Megan was devastated but seemed to realize it was for the best. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of satisfaction that Tom had shown his true colors. Now we're left to deal with the aftermath. Megan is drowning in debt from the wedding expenses, our parents are furious about the lie, and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. The house feels tense, with everyone walking on eggshells around each other. I've decided to stay in town for another week to help Megan start to get her life back on track. We're looking into debt consolidation options and discussing the possibility of her going back to school. It's strange being back in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by old trophies and photos from high school. It feels like a different life. As for my relationship with my parents, it's strained, but slowly improving. They've apologized for pressuring me about my job, finally realizing how important it is to me. But there's still a lot of unresolved tension. Years of favoritism and unequal treatment can't be erased overnight. I'm still planning to return to New York and my job, but I feel like this experience has changed our family dynamic forever. There's a lot of healing that needs to happen, and I'm not sure where we go from here. Has anyone dealt with rebuilding family relationships after such a major breach of trust? Any advice on how to move forward would be greatly appreciated. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and I'm back in New York now. The dust has settled somewhat, but the repercussions of everything that happened are still being felt. Before I left Ohio, Megan and I had several heart-to-heart conversations. We talked about our childhood, the resentments we'd both been harboring, and our hopes for the future. It was hard and emotional, but it felt like we were finally being honest with each other for the first time in years. Megan started seeing a therapist to work through her issues with self-esteem and impulsive behavior. She's also enrolled in some online classes to finish her degree. It's a small step, but I'm proud of her for trying to turn her life around. She's even talking about maybe moving to New York once she's more stable. Part of me is excited about the possibility of having my sister nearby, but another part is wary of falling back into old patterns. Our parents have been supportive of Megan's efforts, but I can tell they're struggling to trust her again. They've set some strict ground rules for her while she lives at home, including getting a job to start paying off her debts. It's strange seeing them actually hold Megan accountable for once. I hope it lasts. As for me, I've thrown myself back into my work in New York. My boss was understanding about my emergency leave, and I'm grateful for that. I'm loving my job more than ever, which makes me even more thankful that I didn't give it up. I've even started mentoring a new intern, which has been surprisingly rewarding. However, the whole ordeal has made me realize that I need to set better boundaries with my family. I've started having weekly phone calls with my parents and Megan, but I've made it clear that I won't be dropping everything to fly home for every crisis. It's been hard to stick to, especially when I can hear the disappointment in my mom's voice, but I know it's necessary for my own well-being. The hardest part has been dealing with the fallout from Megan's social media smear campaign. Even though she's posted apologies and explanations, some damage has been done to my relationships with extended family and old friends. I'm slowly working on repairing those connections, but it's going to take time. I've had to block a few particularly persistent relatives who keep trying to guilt me about not doing more to help Megan. Tom, Megan's ex-fiancé, tried to contact me a couple of weeks ago. He wanted to explain his side of the story, but I declined to meet with him. As far as I'm concerned, that chapter is closed. I did, however, hear through the grapevine that he's already dating someone new. I hope Megan doesn't find out. I know it would hurt her, even though she's better off without him. Looking back, I can see how close I came to sacrificing my dreams for someone else's misguided plans. This experience has taught me a lot about standing up for myself and the importance of not setting myself on fire to keep others warm. I'm cautiously optimistic about the future of my family relationships. We're all working on communicating better and respecting each other's boundaries. It's not perfect, but it's progress. I'm planning to go home for Thanksgiving this year. It'll be the first time we're all together since everything happened. I'm nervous, but hopeful. To everyone who offered advice and support throughout this ordeal, thank you. Your words gave me strength when I needed it most. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's the importance of staying true to yourself, even when it's difficult. I'm looking forward to building a life here in New York, chasing my dreams, and fostering healthier relationships with my family from a distance. It's not the outcome I expected when this all started, but I think it's the best one possible given the circumstances.